Hello again, vinyl community. This is my second video. Um, I realized after the first video that I made yesterday that I didn't really give a full introduction. Um, so again, my name is Matt, but what I didn't mention yesterday was that I really grew up with vinyl. I'm in my late 30s, and um, when I was a kid, especially when I was a young kid, I listened to vinyl all the time. I had some of my own records, but my parents had a lot of records too. And yeah, they had a box, like a crisp packet, and by crisps I mean like chips, you know. They had a big box that had all these singles in it, and they had a bunch of albums. And thinking about it now, it's kind of sad that I know they had a lot of like probably UK first pressings of most of the Beatles albums, and I probably trashed them when I was a kid, just scratched them to pieces because I listened to them so much, and I would listen to them on my own crappy little kid's record player that probably had like an 8-gram tracking force on it, and it's yeah, it's kind of sad, but it was kind of cool still that they had all those records. My dad especially, they had, like I said, a lot of like Beatles. They had, I think, some Rolling Stones, a lot of classic '60s stuff like the Trogs and Manfred Mann, a lot of UK stuff like that. And then when I got a little older, I stopped caring about records, and I switched to cassettes. And at the time I thought it was an upgrade, but looking back on it, it really wasn't. It wasn't a progression, it was a regression. But I liked cassettes at the time because, you know, they couldn't scratch. You didn't get any pops or crackles, and yeah, for a few years I was really into cassettes. And then eventually CDs came along. Well, they came along for me. They'd been around for years, but I didn't get a CD player until I was 13 in 1992 or 93, and that was my first CD player for my birthday. And then later I kind of got into mini discs, which were pretty big in Japan and Europe, not so big in the US. And then of course MP3s, and now I've come full circle back to vinyl. And yeah, like I said, that was I think that makes a big difference if you grew up with vinyl. You have more of a nostalgia factor, you've got more of an attachment in some ways. And then I started getting back into vinyl a little bit several years ago. I got a record player. It was a Stanton T50, I think. Real entry level. You know, it was okay at the time. And yeah, this was probably about 10 years ago. And I got a few records. I went to some Goodwills and picked out a few things, but I didn't really listen to it very much. Partly because I didn't have any speakers, so it was a bit of a hassle. You know, I hooked it up to the computer one time. I remember I had a sound card that had inputs on it, but it eventually got boxed up. And then when my wife and I bought this house a few years ago, it came with us, but it stayed in the box for some time. And then finally in kind of late 2015, towards the end of 2015, I dug it out, and I thought, you know, I kind of want to get into vinyl again. I just want to give it a play. And so I bought an amp on Craigslist, and I'm sorry, not Craigslist, on eBay. I bought another record player on Craigslist later on, but the amp came from eBay, so did the tuner. I think they possibly even came together. Vintage Kenwood, I kind of showed it in my first video, and I hooked that Stanton up to the amp, and was kind of blown away. I thought, wow, this sounds really good. I didn't remember vinyl sounding as great as this. And even by that point, you know, I hadn't cleaned the records or anything. I didn't even know that was a thing. I just kind of dropped the needle on the record and listened. As I got into it a little bit more, I started doing more research online. I started reading forums and blogs, and watching YouTube videos, and it's like, wow, there's like a whole community out there. This is like a thing. And I eventually got rid of the Stanton. Like I mentioned, I did buy a record player off Craigslist, and that was a vintage Pioneer. It was like a PL15 2D or something like that. And it was alright, you know, it did the job for a while. I kind of liked it. But I was never 100% convinced the speed was accurate. It seemed a little off at times. And then eventually I got rid of that, and I got the Audio Technica LP120 that I showed in my first video. And I like it. I haven't taken out the preamp. I don't use the preamp because, of course, it runs into the vintage Kenwood amplifier. And I know some people swear by it. They swear by taking out that preamp, even if you're not actually using, even if it's not powered on, it's still using part of the circuitry. But I like having the USB out option because it's hooked up to the computer. I like being able to rip stuff onto CD. I can then listen to it later, or take it with me, listen to it in the car. Because although you might think that it kind of defeats the point of it, it's no longer analog, of course. Yeah, that's true, but I prefer the mastering on a lot of records too. It's more dynamic. Again, even if it's been digitized, it's still more dynamic. And I just prefer that to a lot of more modern digital mastering. Plus, it's a good way to preserve your music if you're not constantly playing the records. If you can listen to it back, either on CD or FLAC or MP3 or whatever. So yeah, the LP120 I've been pretty happy with. I haven't upgraded it in any way. I changed the mat. That I took out the felt mat and I put a rubber mat in. But aside from that, it's the same as it was, and I've been very happy with it. I haven't had a reason to upgrade. Possibly once the stylus wears out. It's using the stock 1895E cartridge. Once the stylus does wear down, I don't have to replace the stylus anyway. Maybe then I'll consider replacing the cartridge too and getting something else. But for now, it's been good. I haven't had any problems with it. What I also wanted to do was to at least show a few records this time. The last video I didn't show anything. Except for that one Michael Kiwanuka record that I was listening to at the time. So I thought, well, let's show a few right now. So playing right now is Louis Armstrong, and I'm just gonna go over here, and this is Ambassador Satch. I've had this a while. It sounds pretty good. Just felt like putting it on. You know, and this box right here, this is where all of the recent finds go. Anything that hasn't been cleaned yet, or if it's something that I'm listening to, like right now, the Louis Armstrong. So I'll show you what we've got in here. Okay, Michael Jackson Off the Wall. I think these are all eBay purchases. I have Thriller and Bad. I did not have Off the Wall. I've been keeping an eye out on eBay, and I found it at a really good price. I got this plus the two Whitney Houston albums. I think including shipping was like $13. And I actually already have both of these Whitney Houston albums. But her first album, the one that I already had, although it looks really clean, it has a lot of surface noise. So I'm hoping this will be an upgrade copy. We have Donovan Catch the Wind. Again, this was an eBay purchase. I think it was like $3 plus shipping. Thompson Twins Sidekicks. I think this was her first album. It's got songs like We Are Detective, Love on Your Side, If You Were Here. And I mentioned in my last video that I really like 80s music, so we'll see that here. Donna Summer, Another Place and Time. This was kind of her comeback under Stock Aitken and Waterman, the producer Stock Aitken and Waterman. Any Brits watching this will probably know who they are. Americans maybe not, but Stock Aitken and Waterman were huge in the mid to late 80s. And this album, this Donna Summer album, came out in '89. This is when they were at their absolute peak. and they had a bunch of number ones, and it's pop music, 80s pop music, but it's a really good album. And this was an album that I waited for to come down in price. You know, I could have bought it for 10 or 15 bucks at any time, but finally I got it for like $4 on eBay. And it's in good condition. It has a cutout, but the record's in really good condition. Okay, the Black Oak, Arkansas, High on the Hog. Classic kind of bluesy country rock album. It's in really, really nice condition. They're pretty immaculate, actually. You know, look at that spine. And I found this by accident on YouTube. I think it came up as like a suggestion. And I looked for it on eBay, found this at a really great price, and yeah, looking forward to it. We have Lynyrd Skynyrd, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. I don't think this is their first album. I think this is like their second or third album. I won't swear to it. I'm sure any Skynyrd fans will kind of vilify me for not knowing, but it does have Freebird on it, so that's all good. We have Eric Clapton, 461 Ocean Boulevard. I got this with the Skynyrd album and another album back here for like 11 bucks on eBay, so it's a good deal. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, classic album. I didn't have it. I do have The River and Born to Run, but I did not have Born in the USA, and again I just kind of hung on for a good price on eBay. Finally I got it. It was like 8 bucks including shipping, I think, which is okay. Elton John, Red Strikes Back. I have a lot of Elton John records, probably aside from the Beatles. He's probably the artist I have the next most of, I would think. And I didn't have this one. This is from 1988, I believe, and it has I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That, which is one of my favorite Elton John songs. Okay, Blondie, Parallel Lines. Again, this is all off eBay. Squeeze, singles 45s and under. And finally Aretha Now. This came with the Lynyrd Skynyrd and Bruce Springsteen. I'm sorry, Lynyrd Skynyrd and Eric Clapton albums. It's not in as good a condition as I would have liked, which is a little bit of a shame. But it is what it is, right? So what can you do? And again, I showed a bit of the setup last time. Here it is again. I think what I'll do at some point is I will make a video going through like some of the singles, and then I've got quite a lot of singles down here, as you can see. Mostly 80s, but there's a lot of like 70s and some 60s stuff in here too. So I will do that maybe next time. So alright guys, well thank you for watching and listening. Please leave your comments if you'd like to, and until next time, thank you.